2008 Corporate Cybersecurity Seminar Series, Overview Hacking, Detective David Dunn, Seattle Police Department.
Hacking, especially when it comes to medium and small sized businesses that don't have the IT infrastructure set up that some of the Fortune 500 companies do. Not to say that Fortune 500 companies don't get hacked, but we see a lot of SQL and PHP injection attacks. The way that the consumer, Web 2.0 experience has been developed, people want access to their information, right? They want to be able to get into their bank account and see this is your transaction that occurred 5 minutes ago. I went to Safeway, I bought my groceries, and yep, they debited $43.25, right? They want to be able to get onto different web interfaces and just see what their activity is. The downside for businesses is that they're now exposing their internal databases that traditionally would not have been exposed to outside customers or to the internet as a whole. They're exposing those to the internet because when your customer gets on them, log on to their bank account and says, hey, show me these transactions, this internet portal is reaching into the database server that you really want to keep secure to pull that information out. So if that server is not properly configured, you're going to see these injection attacks where they're able to suck out huge swaths of information. So you've got this kind of vulnerable web interface sitting out there just kind of waiting to be attacked. But on the other hand, if you don't offer that service to your customer, if you're a bank that doesn't offer internet banking, you're missing a huge segment of the population. So it's this double-edged sword that you have to deal with. Just because of the customer demand. If you want to stay afloat, it's kind of one of the things that you have to do. If you're a smaller or medium-sized company, you're just going to go out and you're going to buy sort of a prepackaged web interface and just kind of cross your fingers and hope for the best. Major fraud is now occurring almost wholly online. We see a lot of check fraud still at a local level, especially with kind of drug people and whatnot. But the major fraud, the high dollar, the billions of dollar type stuff, all that stuff has an electronic nexus and is occurring online. Symantec came out this year and said that the online fraud worldwide now exceeds the global drug trade. So it's huge, and the suspects are very highly trained. There are institutions in Russia, in the U.S., all over that train these guys. There are people that just have an aptitude to it, and they'll sit there drinking Mountain Dew 22 hours a day, just trying things. Because if they get they break one computer in 1 year, that could pay all their bills for years. So it's very lucrative. And kind of the one big thing when we talk about reporting for businesses, you're not the only victim. If they've hacked you, they've hacked somebody else. So I worked a case, I think I went to work every day for 90 days, and my wife wasn't really happy about it. A company was hacked. That hacking crew, that was definitely not their first hack. We were able to monitor them as they were doing other attacks, kind of real time. But had that company not stepped forward and said, hey, we were hacked, then company 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 down the line, they're going to be victimized as well. So at some point, somebody has to step up and say, hey, I was a victim. Law enforcement, please step up and investigate. And in fact, with that case, I know a company was hacked. I called the company and I said, hey, I know you were attacked. And they ultimately, I told them, I said, I know your database was sucked out. I watched your database leave. I looked at the log files an hour after it happened. We were that close behind the screw. And they said, no, it didn't. So, ultimately, that would be a huge disservice to their customers. I'm sure their insurance company would really not be happy if they knew that was their response, but it's that, that knee-jerk reaction of, oh my God, we were hacked, what do we do? Let's pretend it didn't happen. That Chip was talking about. It's just, when you're dealing with the hacking attack, corporations, for me, it's kind of second nature now. I've dealt with enough of them. I've sat in enough conference calls with attorneys for insurance companies and businesses that maybe I just actually casual on the phone with them, but it's just, it's happening, let's deal with it. There are steps that need to be taken, but when I look at it from a corporation's perspective, this is new, this is huge. It's going to affect the bottom line, their customer notifications. In the state of Massachusetts, I have to tell them how the breach occurred, but in the state of New Hampshire, I'm not allowed legally to tell them how the breach occurred. So now I've got to draft 2 different customer notification letters just for those states. So, when the corporation starts to see that, it's a huge issue, just notification-wise. This is a very typical extortion letter. I changed obviously the company name, the email addresses, but that's what an extortion email looks like. You know, bona fide. This came from into a company. You know, we were able to verify that it happened. I mean, that's, you know, here it is. We're not lying. When we take that scenario, this really happened. This really happens. It's happening to the company right now somewhere. You know, it was a SQL injection attack into the company's database. They sucked out everything. They sent them a file. Here are 20,000 of the hundreds of thousands of records that I got from your company. Start paying me money. So it definitely happens. The beauty part about this, and I left this line in here, I hope you will not want to involve the FBI here, and we can have an agreement like businessmen. Obviously, they're not U.S., and the company, they did the right thing. They called the Secret Service. So they didn't call the FBI, so they can at least tell the guy, hey, you're wrong. We didn't call the FBI. So that's what that case turned into. So that's you know, a huge international presence. You know, you've got, you know, internet traffic bouncing through different servers through the U.S. Financial money's moving into Europe. It's cases like this. Traditionally, I mean, with a case like this, we follow the money, right? So they want to extort. Let's follow the money. That was initially, we were able to make your arrests real quick on this one just by following the dollars as it went. And I should note that company had undergone full penetration testing just months before, and they were up on top of things. They were doing the right thing, but it still happened. It still broke bad for them. They were a great victim to work with, probably one of the best, but it happens. It does happen. And alternatively, we've had companies that will call us up because their insurance company told you need to report this breach to law enforcement. So we say, okay, well, what happened? Oh, well, I'll get back to you in 2 weeks. So they report the breach, but they don't cooperate. So we make a very large distinction between, you know, a cooperative victim and a reporting victim. So, and we try to encourage them, hey, when your insurance company calls me and asks me how well you cooperated, you know, think about what my answer is going to be. So, you know, as that case progressed that I was working, you know, that's internet traffic and money moving through Eastern Europe. It's all organized crime, but it really affects the bottom line of